here. I hope you're still able to see me. Thanks everyone for joining my session. I'm going to talk about building and scaling high-performing global QE organization from ground up. Thanks to Women Tech Network for giving me opportunity to connect with all of you today. Despite of the challenges we are facing with the global pandemic, it also gave us opportunity to spend time with kids and family while we are working from home. Further, the global virtual conferences like this are providing an opportunity for us to connect with each of you and share our experiences and thoughts, motivate and learn from each other. I joined the conference last year and I was able to connect with so many women in tech leaders and fellow QE leaders from UK and several others across the globe. I'm glad to see you this year as a speaker and sharing my journey and experience. Before I begin, some professional background about me. I work as a director of quality engineering at Comfy, now building robotics. It's a part of Siemens Smart Buildings division. Been in tech for over 20 years. I'm passionate about quality and keeping customers happy. I like to solve customer issues. And then mentoring, promoting gender diversity in tech. Coming to my personal background, I am a mom to a high schooler. I was a Girl Scout back in India. And I was a classical dancer and I like music. I do have a picture of grandma. I'll get to her in a minute. So, why am I here today? I attended many women in tech conferences before, physically and virtually. And I rarely see quality engineering leaders speak and represent quality organizations at these events. So I have decided to represent women leaders in QA today and share my experiences, my journey, looking at software from QA lens. I'm passionate about quality and building quality culture and awareness in the organizations. Here are the key things. I'm going to, one second. Sorry, that was my timer here. I'm just doing a time check. So here are the key things I'm going to talk today. Building and scaling high-performing QE organization, common challenges and lessons learned, and then how to have a sustainable growth. Why am I passionate about this topic? Why did I pick this topic today? For this, I have to go back to my childhood. There were three things that have been instrumental in the way I lead teams. First one is my grandma. You have seen her in the picture. She is one of my inspirations. I was born and raised in India. I come from a farming family from southern part of India. Even though it's very difficult in those days, my grandma, she made sure that all the daughters were well educated. And then she made sure that they got into the workplace. I mean, we are talking about 60s, a long, long back. So whenever we go to our village during our summertime, summer holidays, uh, she used to tell us how the girls in the family have to be independent and have to have their own identity and to be well educated. So they uplift the family and empower other women around us or around them. So all my growth that happened in my 20 plus years of my career, it started at an early age, and she was certainly one of my biggest inspirations and a role model to me. A second thing, I was part of a Girl Scout during my school days. And thanks to my parents for allowing me to join and, try things that I wanted to do. Again, back then, during those days, women, this is in 80s, still have some social constraints. So anyway, coming back, with the Girl Scouts, it taught me to be resilient, what a leadership is, leadership mindset, to be adaptive. More importantly, about team. So there I learned to succeed. It's not an individual thing, but it's a team thing. If you succeed as a team, and then if you fail as a team. So these had a huge impact on me since then, and 25 years down the line, I still follow these principles. And finally, the last 15 years or so, being working in both multiple continents, both in India and here in US, I've been working with many distributed and cross-cultural teams, and it taught me a lot about how to work effectively, and then communicate and adapt to cultural differences. I have seen both sides of the coin. So these are the things are the basis of my career journey to where I am today. So I'm going to share some of my experience and lessons learned from my journey when it comes to building and scaling teams. Just to start with some inspiration for this talk, this is the quote which I firmly believe in. This is from Anita Roddick. To succeed, you have to believe in something, in such a passion, it becomes a reality. Before I jump in further, just a side note here, I won't be able to see the chat or take any questions when I'm sliding the shares. I will try to answer them at the end. This is a 40-minute presentation, so grab a coffee or water, whatever. So, then I think finally we'll have a few minutes, hopefully, at the end. So with that, I'll get started. Let's talk about technology. For the last 20 years, we have seen a lot of changes in the tech and in the IT. We have seen globalization, companies undergoing digital transformation, a lot of companies relying on technology to transform their business. And with that, as we can see, the technology is evolving. The role of the tech leaders are constantly evolving as well. And at the same time, it also brought changes how we test the applications. So today, I'm going to discuss about when it comes to building QA organizations. QA strategy is one of the main things, and we'll go over building high-performing teams, setting some guidelines and expectations, and putting tools and process in place. QA strategy and vision. You might be wondering why I'm showing cars when I'm talking about QA strategy. Let's assume your company is building a car. So for us, it's like coming with a testing strategy, how to test the car. So car has different features, and we have different kinds of cars, and there are different features, for example, timing belt, engine, navigation, electronic system, and so on. So it's understanding these features and coming up with a plan how to test these features. So it's basically covering what and how. Wanted to provide one tip here. So when the leaders come up with the QE testing strategy, need to understand the company goals and the business goals, and ensure that the strategy aligns with these goals, and also engineering goals. When we talk about team, building the teams, one thing comes to mind is teamwork is key to success. The goals can be achieved when the whole team works together as one unit. In a team, people have different mindsets and skill sets. So as a leader, you need to ensure everyone focuses their mind and efforts towards towards the goals and visions. All right, so if this sounds familiar to you, put a smiley face in the chat for me. Coming to my favorite topic, building and managing the high-performing teams. So data shows that the teams with diversity make better decisions than 73% of the times. And gender diversity in IT sector or technology has significant benefits. So I think this came from the National Center for Women and Information Technology. So when we talk about building the teams, I think these are the two fundamental things to keep in mind when it comes to putting the teams together. The second thing is establish communication protocol for your team. So a simple example could be, so if the company is a big organization, you have multiple, divisions, and then a common set of things that you follow. If the companies are small, or if you have smaller teams, you have certain things that you usually follow. So the point being that we need to decide what's the optimum best communication for the teams to communicate. For example, in our company, email is a pretty common thing for external communication. We use Slack, IMs, like a chatting, kind of applications for internal communication. Internal communication need to be quick, so we tend to use Slack a lot these days. The other thing is defining the process and the ground rules for your team. That's really, really important. And then not only that, documenting the process is also very key. We covered about the teamwork. Now, I would like to talk about some of the challenges when it comes to building and managing the global teams. Social, especially this is very familiar for all of us working remotely during the global pandemic. Pretty much everyone is remote. Either it's in a different country or in the same country in different locations, right? So we are all, social isolation is one of that. A lack of face time and communication challenges, because most of the folks are in different time zones. And if you want to schedule a meeting to talk to multiple teams, we scramble around what is the best time that works for all the teams, right? So other thing, building the teams are, in big picture, for the leads, you need to look at the hiring requirements and budget considerations. Where to hire the teams? Do we need to go for an on-site offshore model? Why do we need offshore teams? To touch base a little bit about offshore teams, especially from the QA organizations, continuous testing is something. Sometimes, we need 24/7 coverage. That's a typical time. Offshore is a pretty, common model there. For example, to support the off-business hour, customer support and things like that, the companies go for offshore teams. Cost to benefit, you get the same skill set at a much cheaper or a lower cost in other places, in the other geographical locations and other countries. A lot of startups like to go in that route, especially for them, the budget will be, very stringent in the early on. So a lot of companies opt for, in my experience, a balance between the on-site offshore teams. Here is one tip, from my experience, I would like to offer. When we are putting the teams together, global teams, multiple teams in multiple locations, especially offshore, influence the gender diversity. Especially when you're hiring offshore and remote teams, look for countries that foster the gender diversity. All right, to summarize, we talked a lot about, building the teams, global teams. Being in the industry for more over 2 decades and working with the different domains, companies, with my experience, I can say that there are 3 takeaways I keep in mind when I lead the organizations. Number 1, no matter what application you are developing or testing, the primary goal of the teams is to deliver a high quality product. The second one, having a set of processes and tools and methodologies in place helps the teams to collaborate better and deliver products at a rapid pace to meet the growing customer needs. Number 3, no problem is hard when you build a team of like-minded, passionate people. With that, I would like to share this message from a famous basketball coach, Phil Jackson. I hope you guys know who is Phil Jackson. He coached a lot of famous, basketball players. For example, Kobe Bryant is part of the LA Lakers. So one of the messages is the strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each individual member is the team. All right, so I know this is the second topic that I wanted to cover today, are the common challenges and obstacles, and I'm sure a lot of people might be interested, especially in this topic, when we deal with putting the teams and talking about QA. A little background here before we jump into the challenges, right? So Over the past decade, the customer needs have increased exponentially, and companies want to release their features much faster and incrementally as well. So from the testing perspective, what worked yesterday doesn't work today, and what works today may not work tomorrow. So these are some of the challenges QA leaders face. To give one more example, I was previously working for a company where I was tasked with transforming the quality QA organization into a quality engineering department, and I know a lot of people are going through this transformation. I thought, okay, it's simple. Let's get some training. Let's provide some training, identify some tools, and what kind of tools and technologies we need. And then I thought, okay, then we can do the transformation, right? So, but later I realized that it's more than that. So I ought to learn the hard way how to overcome some of these challenges. And I would like to share some of these when it comes to building high-performing teams. And pretty much, I think a lot of people might be, having the similar issues as well. We usually face obstacles in two key areas. One, people, and second one is the tools and technology. Let's talk about technology for some, first. So when we are transforming into the QA to QE, some of the things that are part of the transformation is not only for QA but in general for the companies, right? With the monolithic moving to microservices, monolithic is more like bigger releases with a slow cadence. All the team members or multiple teams are working, delivering the multiple features together. So we all bundle multiple features into this one, release, and then so that requires like a full regression. And now the companies are slowly realizing that it will take a lot of time, and to wait for all the teams to contribute, and even managing the dependencies is very hard. So they're slowly kind of transforming into smaller cadence, smaller releases, more incremental. This requires automation. You heavily depend on automation. And the next transformation is actually release by feature, right? So this requires continuous delivery. Continuous delivery requires continuous testing and a full automation. Well, one can argue that you can't automate everything, right? So you definitely still have a combination of manual testing or human. Wherever there is a human intervention, we get a coverage on manual testing, as well as majority of regression is pretty much automated. So in big picture, focus on quality engineering over quality assurance, and invest in automation at all levels. Perform end-to-end testing and human intervention related testing when necessary. So we talked about, sorry, I think one. I want to go back to this slide one more time. So the tools and technology, as I was mentioning, that traditional testing no longer works in the DevOps culture. And I'm going to talk about how to integrate the QE, with these changes. So as we move towards more incremental delivery for QA and QE, one of the things is DevOps focused QE culture and continuous testing. And a lot of companies are now moving into shift left. You probably heard about this a lot. It's a shift left testing. Shift left means moving to the left in the development cycle and test as soon as possible, and not at the end of the development cycle like our traditional models earlier. Continuous testing is a cultural shift, I would say, from testing at the end to testing early, testing more often, and testing at all stages of development. This is usually done by taking advantage of the automated tests. So, in summary, continuous testing is the process of executing automated tests as part of the software delivery pipeline to obtain a quick feedback on software release candidates. So meaning, for example, at least in our organizations, what we have seen is implementing, running that automation tests in multiple levels. And I'm going to explain that in my next slide. So this is some of the the process changes to move to the shift left. And so, for example, we have multiple automated tests, right? It would be a combination of UA tests, end-to-end tests, or API level tests, or so you have a combination of layers of automation tests, right? So when in the organizations with multiple Scrum teams, we typically have sprints. Either it's 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, or a month. Integrating automation tests means that, for example, if we have high-level smoke tests, we have a full regression daily, automation runs. We have sprint level tests. So as we develop, we have a new features and a part of the regression testing. Again, we will be dividing the regression testing into multiple logical buckets. For example, smoke test, full regression, and tests that we can run in different branches in different features. So that way, anytime we are actually adding the features, for example, in the code level, or for example, in the branch level, you continuously can run these. We can also integrate the automation tests in code commits. They call it as a commit hooks. So you run at every single code commit. So that way, by the time you check in the code, we know that certain features that are expected to work would continue to work. So it's traditionally testing everything at the end versus testing as often as possible in different layers. Again, we can say that it's not only the automation test that QA runs. The more culture shift right now is the quality is not owned by just the QA or QE. It's owned by everyone in the team. So as a QE, we really need to bring that culture awareness and to all the the teams, and empowering our development, everyone to be sharing and contributing to the quality. Just doing a time check here. We are at 30 minutes. I would like to make sure we have a few minutes left for questions. We're almost done with the second topic. So the summary is, summary and takeaway, from this, shift in QA, investing on tools, shift left testing approach, testing early on, establishing the DevOps-based quality culture, and transitioning the QA to QE. It requires a continued training and awareness building and exposing your team to the new technologies, as well as constantly tuning and retiring your older tools, and embedding the quality team into the Scrum teams, rather than having a separate team to test. Coming to the people, it's vastly it's the mindset shift, adapting to the new technology and the changes, and the training is part of that. Motivating and mentoring your team to have a growth mindset is really essential with this transformation. Also, this is an interesting thing, aligning the tasks based on the skill set and mindset. I'll take this example. So we have a team of automation engineers. So some of them are very skilled at UI automation. Some of them are really skilled in the backend automation, for example, API level tests. And the other team members are really good with mobile automation, say for example, APM. So when you have this kind of the projects coming to you, it's good to evaluate who is passionate about in what skill, and aligning the tasks based on their interests, mindset, and skill set. Training, really need to ensure that we invest on training. A lot of companies have training budgets these days. Make use of the training budget for upskilling the team, and ensure your team attends the workshops, conferences like this. There's tons of online trainings. So there is a lot of community right now, online communities and trainings that are available for the teams to really upskill to the new technologies. So before I jump into the last item, the last topic, this is especially for women, us. Less perfection, more authenticity. This one is by Monica Kumar from Nutanix. Last year, when I attended one of the conferences, so this is the message she conveyed. Over the years, as a mothers, as a daughters, as a career women, we realized that we are the worst enemy. For example, I'm the worst enemy for myself, right? So don't be too critical. Don't be trying to do everything perfect. By doing that, it limits the progress. So I was really, reflective on that, because I was doing that. So the key takeaway from me for that is, don't need to be perfect. Don't need to, trying to do everything perfect. Focus on being authentic, and don't need to be perfect doing every single thing. And that is a key for progress. All right, so sustainable, how to have a sustainable growth. Some of the problems I have seen over the years, as we build that, the teams. We build the teams, We assign the tasks, we have the skill sets, we set aside the processes for the teams to follow, and then we think we are done. But it doesn't work that way, because building high-performing teams is an ongoing process. As I was mentioning earlier, the technology changes constantly. So for example, I have an automation framework that works very best with, for example, monolithic. It may not work with, microservices, right? So really evolving and evolving and, refining and making changes to the process tools is really, really key in catering to the needs of the technology changes. So when I'm wrapping up this session for the sustainable growth, these are some of the takeaways. Cultivating team culture, aware that everyone is responsible for quality, defining the key metrics and KPIs, really fostering the open feedback. We talked about fine-tuning the processes. When you notice any problem, immediately fix them. It's really important, especially in the global situation and multiple teams working, before the problem becomes bigger. Analyze the team performance and metrics and set some processes in place. Mentor your team, develop a person, motivate a person, and set some deadlines. This is specifically true for quality organization, tight alignment between a functional and automation team. So they need to be in absolute alignment. So we are all working to achieve, the common goals. As a quality leader, be flexible, lead with empathy, understand the cultural differences, and tailor the communication to the global teams. So from my own career journey, here are some things I learned as a quality leader. Some of these are not only applicable for QA, but also to all teams in general. Continually evaluate and refine the process and tools with changing business needs. Focus on quality engineering over QA. Transform a traditional QA function into an automated environment. Embrace the DevOps-focused QE culture. Train the employees, your teams, on the new process and technologies. Always, always, always focus on customers. Keeping the happy customers is key for the success of not only QA, but the entire company. Embrace and support diversity and inclusivity. Focus on outcomes, not the little gritty activities that happen every day. And last one, have fun at work. As a leader, we need to ensure we organize virtual events, not only with the physical teams here, but with the extended teams. Celebrate team achievements. So, being a woman in tech, I have gone through so many obstacles. There is one key message I wanted to leave you with before I end my talk. COVID-19 pandemic is one of the biggest disruptions of all times. Upheavals like this change the world. Data shows that 50% of women either turned part-time or lost their jobs taking care of the family and kids. So a National Center for Women in Information shows that gender diversity has specific benefits in technology, which could explain why tech companies have initiatives towards boosting the number of female applicants, recruiting them in a more effective way, retaining them for longer, and give them opportunities to advance. As a woman in tech, we should help the companies with these initiatives. The STEM and tech sectors need more women in technology and leadership roles to guide and inspire our younger generation. And data shows that we have about 28% women in tech sectors. We have a long way to go. We need more women to fill these roles, and we need more women leaders to motivate, guide, and inspire our younger generations, and male allies to continue to support, provide inclusive environment. Sometimes women are more critical towards other women in workplace. I have experienced it too personally. Women supporting other women is really important, and we should continue to do that and encourage other women to grow in the tech space. All right. Before I end the session, I am really grateful for the opportunity and want to thank Women Tech Network and Anna for giving me opportunity to talk and share my experiences and my journey. And for those who dialed into to listen to me for almost, oh my God, 40 minutes, and hopefully you found some things useful when it comes to building and the high-performing teams. Also, I want to thank my son and my husband because they listen to me practice my stuff again and again. So I appreciate their patience, and especially want to thank my husband to continue to be the support for me in every single day and encourage me with my growth. Also want to take a moment to thank my parents. They uplift me every time, especially when I am, there are days when I'm really down. Also, last not the least, my mentors and colleagues who encourage me all the time. You can connect with me. This is my contact information here on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and that's a great way to expand your virtual network. I'm available for any questions. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can have more time to take questions, but if I can take the questions, I'll be hanging out in the open session. You can come talk to me. So with that, I would like to end my session. And stop sharing. I don't see any, I do see some questions here. Let's see. There is one question here. How can we encourage more women to get into the leadership roles? This is a really good question. A lot of women, at least this is my experience, we hold back. Especially the women, I would say, who are mothers. We always, think about work-life balance, definitely. especially when your commute is figured out, when the time schedule, pick up, drop off, everything is figured out. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to have any change. So I think we really need to come out of that and looking at the growth opportunities and setting some goals and talking to other women. Mentoring is one thing I would encourage. And if an opportunity comes, this happened to me, am I perfect? Oh, there are 10 different things. I don't have two, right? So just go try. You never know what opportunity is there unless you don't try. So grab the opportunity and see how you can achieve it, and do not hold back. So that would be my advice. Any other questions? We went way over, so there is one question here. What are the people looking for these days when hiring software engineers? What skills do they need to make themselves more marketable? I will definitely say a lot of development is more like a test driven right now. Keeping yourself up to date with new technology. What kind of automation tools are there? And really learning about the DevOps, side of things and how the tests are being integrated. And more importantly for me, I would look for, does this person have a passion about quality, be able to learn and adapt it to new skills, right? So the growth mindset. These are the three that I look for when it comes to hiring the software testers. There's one more question here. What do testers and people in their early stage in their career need to do to grow their career? I always wonder when I go back to my older days, things that I haven't done that I wanted to do. Identify your strengths and really focus on the strength. And also find a mentors, a support system, to the mentors, and the coaches really help you to guide you. Sometimes if you're busy with your everyday work, or if you don't have time, they can help you shape your future. And always learn new things and new technologies. Keep up to date. Keep yourself up to date. And connect with people virtually. Networking is also very critical, which I haven't done a lot in my early stages of my growth. Okay, with that, thanks everyone for joining the session, and have a nice day.